You ready, Mr. Nicole, on your matter?
Yes.
We're on the record in the matter, the people of the state of Michigan versus Julian Maurice Davis, file number 22-01466 FY, council appearance.
Brian Ring on behalf of the people practicing under Michigan Court Rule 8.120.
And Scott Nickel on behalf of Mr. Davis, who is present and standing to my right.
How are you, Mr. Davis? Okay, today's the date and time set for a preliminary examination. There's a note here that there is a request to adjourn. Is that correct?
That is, Your Honor. The people will be requesting an adjournment. There were some jail calls that were found, Your Honor, and we're working on getting a detective on those jail calls. Right up supplemental report, Your Honor.
Jail calls?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was he recently released from custody?
It was shortly after arraignment when the no contact order was in place, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Nickel has been made aware and been provided the calls, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Nickel, you were provided that information.
I do have the jail calls. I understand that to actually properly address it, the prosecution would need to have a detective write up a report and review them themselves. I would leave it to the court's discretion as to what the court does as far as the preliminary exam today.
Okay, so Mr. Davis, today is the date that was originally scheduled for your preliminary examination. You have the right to have your preliminary examination within 21 days of your arraignment. You were arraigned back on October 24th. However, due to what the prosecution is indicating, which is that there's been a discovery of some potential phone calls from the jail that require a detective to further investigate, the court's going to find good cause to go beyond the 21-day timeline. I'm going to reset this matter so that the detective can be assigned to investigate that matter. So we'll get you a new date. Do you have any questions today?
Nope, I don't have it.
Okay. No, it's gonna be aggressive. December 16th at 9:30. Any additional matters for the record today?
Nothing with people, Your Honor. Thank you.
Nothing for the defense, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, bond will continue. You're all set, sir.
Should you wait for a copy of that notice?
You should.
Just have a seat. I'll get you a copy of the notice.
I just know that I'm nobody's boss, so it doesn't matter.
I just say boss is like Virginia. Yeah, boss, got it, boss. It just makes some people swear.
I know this. Times temporarily in charge of my children. I'm at times temporarily in charge of my children.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Something.
Mainly when my wife's not.
Yes.
That sounds right.
When she's home, I'm nobody's
I
boss.
was gonna say, I suppose I'm my dog's boss.
I'm only in
Other
charge
than that.
when they're misbehaving. Thank you.
Congratulations, Sharon.
Thank you.
You didn't even take yesterday off.
You know, I regretted every moment of it. No, my eyes were burning. I was tired, but you know.
Now it's time for relaxing.
Yeah,
Days
well,
off.
not this week. I'm on call, but yeah, maybe next week.
You really didn't let Judge Buchanan switch with you.
I did not.
Judge, you worked too hard.
Actually, she requested me to switch with her in January. I never responded to her.
Are you fully staffed right now?
I don't think so. I think two people, lost two people. I don't think we're still up and down. I think when James Casey left and Charlie Patrick left.
You still haven't been able to fill them.
Recently hired two additional people. And then Keith, I think we're still on. I don't know where.
Just on one at this point, but
Chris leaving.
yeah, it's an interesting time to try and hire because the bar results just came out, so we're getting people wanting to apply after the deadline. We don't really want to tell them no because, you know, it's understandable why they didn't apply before bar results came out because it said you had to pass the bar and be a practicing attorney. Because I mean, Brian's great, but we have to have two bodies here because we have to have somebody that's supervising him. And we just don't have the resources to have two people in the district for courtroom. So. Felony, there's at least one vertical here, but misdemeanor days. There's really no need to have two people here, so. They're gonna start giving some homicide type cases to some other.
Jared, Jacob, myself, Steve still take some. And
For Cornish. You've got all the Steves.
we have a lot of Steve.
Milks could take one. I would say Rob could definitely take one. I think if I was in that one,
I don't know why.
Okay, good morning. Is it Scotland? Alexander Scotland?
Yes, good morning. The parties have collectively agreed on a pretrial statement, which we're now prepared to submit to the court, if that's
Okay,
approvable.
let me see if I can bring Norris back in. It looks like Alexis Simmons logged off. Oh, is
I
this
believe-
Alexis Simmons? Oh,
I believe
Very
she's
good.
in the courthouse.
she is presently in the court. That works. Okay. On the record in the matter of First Choice Real Estate versus Dominic Norris and Alexis Timmons, file number is 22-01877 GC. Council appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Alex Stotland for the plaintiff.
Okay, and this is Alexis Timmons here in the courtroom, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, she's loud and clear. You can hear her, correct? Okay,
Yes,
she's
Your
good.
Honor.
She's fine. Okay, very good. And it looks like the person who was identified as Dominic Norris is logged off.
It looks that way, Your Honor, but we were just all in a breakout room and I have emails from both of them at this point confirming their approval to reflect their signatures on this pretrial statement, which
Okay.
I'd be happy to submit to the court in any form you prefer.
Okay, sounds good. So you were able to come to an agreement about your joint pre-trial statement, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I think this might be Mr. Norris logging in right now, Your Honor. Shine.
Thank you. Do you have any questions at this time, ma'am?
Not at this very moment. Your Honor.
Let me see who Shine is. The person who just logged in identified as Shine, can you unmute your device, please?
Okay, yes.
Okay, what is your name?
Dominique Ladarian Norris.
Okay, very good. Okay, and Mr. Norris, we are on the record, we were just discussing whether or not you were able to come to a joint pretrial statement with the plaintiff's counsel. My understanding is that you all did agree to a joint pretrial statement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so you've given Mr. Stotland authority to put your signatures on that, or no?
Put out signatures on the approved the email he sent us with the,
Correct.
right, yeah.
Okay, very good. So that will be sent over to my courtroom by Mr. Stotland. I'll get an opportunity to review that. And then the clerk's office will cook out a scheduling order based on that. That's how you'll get dates in which your things are going to be due, such as your summary judgment motions, if you want to file one, discovery deadlines and such of that nature, as well as a trial. I don't know if you all demanded a jury trial or not, but your trial date will also be set based on that. Unless you have any questions for me or any additional matters for the record, Mr. Stotland, you can just send that to Judge Simmons Courtroom at lansingmi.gov.
Okay, well, I do have one thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for the motion of the summary, that Monday on the December 5th, I was wondering, I don't know how you guys are scheduling it, as you said with the clerk, but could we move that to Friday? I don't know if that's possible.
Okay, you're talking about for a motion for summary?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I'm talking about
We
the
haven't
motion for,
We haven't scheduled anything yet.
Your Honor, I have filed a motion for summary previously, and it is presently scheduled for a hearing on December 5th, 2022 at 1:30 PM by Zoom. I think that's what Mr. Norris is referencing.
right.
Oh, motion for summary disposition. Okay, first and foremost, you all need to respond to that. You know that?
I was aware, Your Honor. I tried to call and get a deadline of when that needs to be, my response needs to be filed, but I wasn't able to get it.
Okay, and so what you're saying is that the 5th does not work for you?
I can't,
Sir, the 5th doesn't work for you?
the 5th doesn't work for me. This is the last day I can take off for the rest of the year.
Okay, sounds good. And so you're requesting to have a reset for which date?
The Friday, the 9th.
Yeah, Friday the 9th doesn't work for me. That's my
Oh.
mom's birthday.
Oh, what about that Thursday, the 8th?
Am I here? I don't think I'm here the 8th either.
Well, I'll just make it work for that Monday then.
Well, I mean, I can give you another day. Those 2 days just don't work for me.
Well, it has to be like a Thursday or Friday.
So does the following week, Thursday and Friday work for you?
The 2nd.
No, the week after the 9th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll work.
Thursday, December 15th at 10 o'clock work for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll get you a copy of the notice for that date, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You need to file your response. Let's see, so November 3rd. I'm gonna give you till December 3rd to file your response, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Our response for the motion.
That is correct.
Yeah, because it seems like there was a lot of paperwork lost throughout the mail because certain things he was asking me for, I never received.
I can't speak to that, but maybe you all can work through that off the record, okay?
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. So to be clear, it's Thursday, December 15th at 1:30 PM, Your Honor.
That is correct. No, it was at 10 o'clock.
I thought it was 10
At 10 o'clock.
10 AM. Got it. Thank you, Your Honor. I wasn't
No
clear.
problem. No worries. Any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor, but we could probably benefit from going back into a breakout room, if that's okay with the court.
Okay, I can put you back in the breakout room. Did you want to log back in as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, sounds good. We'll put you back in the breakout room.
Thank you, Your
And we'll
Honor.
get you a copy of your notice, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Your
You're
Honor.
welcome. Thank you. Mr. Starling, you're already in room 2, so I'll add him to room 2.
Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. On the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Joseph Marison. This is file number 22-01990 council appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Melanie Smith appearing on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Wayne Silverburn from the Office of Public Defender on behalf of Joseph Marison, who is standing to my right at council table.
Thank you. Today was the date that we adjourned this matter to allow motions to be filed as to bind over. We received the prosecution's motion.
I'm just gonna orally argue it.
That was not what we requested.
Pardon?
That was not what we requested. There was a date and time set for a reason, for you to file your response. That was last week. Giving me a
I
week
apologize.
to review those, to make a ruling.
Then I'll just create a record. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
thank you. You can proceed. Yeah, you can proceed, as a.
Oh. I'll be brief as I typically am, as the court is aware, because I've done many preliminary examinations in front of you. I certainly will agree that the counts that have been requested to be dismissed by the prosecution, I won't oppose. And I'm generally opposing without argument the remaining counts. I would indicate that my notes indicated that reviewing for this, that it was very confusing testimony. And so I'm going to leave it to the court's discretion. My practice often would be to get a transcript and then deal with the matters the court's well aware I can do in a motion to quash in the circuit court. So I'm going to leave it to the court's discretion now.
Okay, sounds good. So you're not having much of a dispute as to anything that they argue, correct? As to what people argue, other than there's some confusion as to testimony.
That's correct. I'm just basically opposing without argument at this level. To bind over.
Sounds good. Okay, well, the court is in possession of the people's motion for bind over, the preliminary examination having taken place back on October 20th. The burden was on the prosecution, Mr. Marison, at that time to put forth sufficient evidence to establish probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you with that crime. And based on what the court has received, the court is going to review the criminal jury instructions here. If being charged in count 1, criminal sexual conduct in the 2nd degree. Count 2 of interfering with a crime report, committing crime threatening to kill, and then count 3 kidnapping, count 4 criminal sexual conduct 1st degree, and then count 5 of criminal sexual conduct assault with intent to commit sexual penetration. The burden on the prosecution today, Mr. Marison, is just more than mere suspicion that a crime was committed, not to be compared with the burden that they would need to face and overcome at the time of trial. At the time of trial, if this matter proceeds for trial, the burden would be on them to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt.
I'm almost deaf. I can't hardly hear you.
Okay. And our device still isn't working? Okay. I'm gonna speak as loudly as I possibly can, okay? Can you
Okay.
hear me better?
A little bit.
Okay. How about that?
All right.
Okay. So the burden is at the time of trial, if this proceeds to trial, is not to be compared to the burden today. The burden today is just more than mere suspicion that a crime was committed, okay?
Right.
At trial, they would have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. You
Okay.
hear that clearly, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And so the people have argued that based on the testimony that was presented back on October 20th, There were three witnesses that appeared under oath, one being the minor victim, which will identify as MS for the purposes of today, okay?
Yes.
And the other witness being a Nicole Spitzley and a detective, Dustin Matusco from the Ingham County Sheriff's Department. As it relates to count one, which is again a criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, if this matter were to proceed to trial, the people would need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is charged with the crime of second degree. And first, that the defendant intentionally touched MS and made MS touch him, and that he permitted MS to touch his genitalia, groin, inner thigh, buttock, or breast, or clothing area. Second, that this was done for sexual purposes or could reasonably be construed as being done for sexual purposes. Mr. Norris, are you all set? If you're all set, you can free to go. Everyone else is logged off.
Okay.
Okay. As to count one, the people argue that Nicole testified that the defendant gave her and the victim identified as MS to a ride to a friend's house. The friend was identified as a Kim. Kim lived or was located at the area of Grand River Avenue, not too far from Pennsylvania, but past Auto Street. The detective testified that through a law enforcement database and other materials, he was able to verify later in his investigation that the person identified as Kim lived at 1418 East Grand River Avenue, which is located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. Victim MS testified that on the date that the defendant took her and her mother to Kim's house, she was approximately 5 or 6 years old, her birthday being a January 9, 2009. The incident would have occurred around the time of 2014 to 2015. Victim also testified that upon arriving to Kim's house, her mother went inside, leaving her in the truck with the defendant, and she was with the defendant alone, and that the defendant placed his hands on her thigh and moved it up to her vagina. MS testified the defendant's hands and fingers touched both the clothing covering her vagina and bare skin of her vagina, but that the touching occurred only on the outside of the vagina. The victim testified that she fell down into the dashboard area of the truck and then eventually ran into Kim's house to retreat to her mother. Or requesting bind over as to count one, as amended to the venue of 1418 East Grand River, city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. Based on the testimony presented, the court will grant the amendment and bind over count one as amended. People are moving to dismiss count two for lack of probable cause. As to count three, which is kidnapping. Alleging that the defendant did knowingly restrain the victim with the intent to engage in criminal sexual penetration or criminal sexual contact. The people are arguing that Nicole testified that her daughter MS was around 7 years old. Defendant took her to the doctor and MS rode in the truck with them. Nicole also testified under oath that the doctor's office was located in Sparrow Internal Medicine, which was located near Michigan State's campus in East Lansing. Nicole testified that the defendant picked her and her daughter up from the home and drove to the doctor, made 1 or 2 stops, and then the defendant dropped both of them off home. Nicole also testified that her home at the time would have been at America's Best Hotel, which is located in the city of Lansing, county of Ingham, on or on Shepherd Street, which is near Kalamazoo, where she lived with her mother and a friend named James, which is also located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County. The victim stated that the defendant picked her and her mother up from the residence they shared with James and took her to the doctor because something was wrong with her mom, that she was approximately 6 or 7 years old during the time in which the alleged incident occurred. The victim testified that upon arrival to the doctor's office, that her mother exited the truck, the doors of the vehicle were locked, and she was unable to open them due to there being child locks on the door. The victim testified that while alone in the car, the defendant again put his hands on her body, touching her bare skin with his hands on the outside of her body. However, victim testified that at this time, the defendant also inserted his fingers inside of her vagina, noting that the vagina hurt, and it was her first time that anything had been inside of her vagina. The victim also stated that she was uncomfortable with being alone with the defendant in the truck and previously disclosed to her mother that she was uncomfortable and that she did not want to be in the truck on this day. She expressed a desire to leave the situation. She stated she knew she was not free to leave, and even if she tried, she would have been prevented due to the locks in the vehicle. The victim was knowingly restrained per the argument of the prosecution and confined by the defendant in order to commit the acts as alleged in count 3. The people are arguing that pursuant to NCL 600.83124B, if a criminal offense is committed in an automobile, venue is appropriate in any county, district, and political subdivision through or over which the conveyance passed. And so with respects to count 3 and count 4, they are arguing that venue before this court would be appropriate for city of Lansing, Ingham County. The court is satisfied as to count 3 that there's sufficient probable cause. And so count 3 will be bound over. Count 4 was criminal sexual conduct first degree. And that was the same incident that allegedly took place at the time that the victim was 6 or 7 and was taken along with her mother to the doctor's office. The court is satisfied based on the testimony that there's sufficient probable cause as to count 4 that will be bound over to the circuit court as well. Count 5 is being dismissed. Promotion of the prosecution. The prosecution is also requesting to add an additional charge of count 6 of bribing, interfering with a criminal case. And the testimony of the alleged victim back on October 20th was that the defendant offered to give her money and told her not to tell, and that if she did tell, that he would do something to her mom. The court is satisfied and will add a count 6 of bribing, interfering with a criminal case, and that will be bound over to the circuit court for further prosecution. Today is the 10th. The bind over date is going to be November 23rd. You do not need to appear in court on November 23rd. That's the date they get the file from this court. Okay, sir?
Yes.
Okay, your next court date will be a pre-trial, and you and your attorney will be made aware of that date. Do you have any questions today?
No, I don't.
Okay, any additional matters for the record today? Counsel?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
From the Senate, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, you're all set.
nice long weekend, and also congratulations.
Not really a long weekend for me. I'll be here
Well,
on all the days, Sunday too.
I heard there was gonna be a moratorium on crime this weekend.
Really?
That's right.
That'd be great.
And they're-
Why, are you on call too?
Right. That'd be great. I don't know, it's gonna be really warm today, so you know what happens.
People do
Those-
crazy
Turn those
things.
fans on in here.
People do crazy things when it's warm. Hi, good morning. You done already?
No. No, I am waiting technically. I'm worn out still from that trial. The homicide, but yeah, yeah. I'm apparently a jack of all trades.
What happens when you're wise?
When I'm wise.
I think I gotta hang out and supervise Brian.
Oh, I didn't.
I think he's gonna run this if he can get his officers to appear on their subpoenas, because apparently that's optional.
He's talking to some people in the library that look like police officers.
Oh,
Did we
that would
ask
be
them to come
nifty.
and fix our hearing impaired thing? Yeah, I sent an email.
I mean, that would be my guess. But
How did that happen?
they're not in uniform, but yeah.
So we have one more exam.
Brian seems to think it's running. He
Yeah, it
doesn't,
says on here.
he didn't have his witnesses yet, so I'll go check and see what he's doing.
Oh, sounds good, thank you. All of the free trials, this week, what happened with Cornelius? Do they appear? Fast, they will.
Yeah, it's-
The courtroom probably won't. Only what I hear just first, they can see. I didn't know you could- I never
Oh, you
noticed
can
that.
hear both of these courtrooms.
I
It's
didn't
really
know
bad,
that.
it's a fake wall.
I never noticed.
You can
that.
also hear the hallway conversation, which is
Oh.
more entertaining because I'd
Especially
be
from
in,
that office over there.
I'd be in here with Judge Alderson and we'd be doing sobriety court. It'd be like fairly quiet.
On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jalen and Mayor Houston, file number is 22-02787 FY. Council Vance.
Brian Ring on behalf of people.
And Luke Goodrich from the Public Defender's Office here to represent Mr. Houston in this matter.
Okay, how are you, Mr. Houston? I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Today is the date that's scheduled for your preliminary examination. Are we ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, do you have any preliminary matters?
Nothing for the Your Honor.
We would just ask if the witnesses be sequestered.
How many witnesses are there?
There are 3 from the prosecution, Your Honor.
Okay, and where are your other witnesses?
They're in the library, Your Honor.
Okay, sequestration order will be granted. Any other preliminary matters?
No.
Okay, call your first witness.
People call Officer Lucas Kilburn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury? Thank you. You can have a seat, officer. Please state your first and last name and spell both of them.
Yeah, Lucas Kilborn, LucasKilbourn.
You can proceed, counsel.
Here you are. Officer Kilburn, where do you work?
City of Lansing Police Department,
How long have you worked there?
approximately a year and a half.
What capacity do you work?
I'm a police officer.
Were you on road patrol?
I am.
And were you on road patrol on the 16th of October of 2022?
I was.
And on that date, were you dispatched to a shots fired call?
I was, yes.
And do you know where you were dispatched to?
Someone in the morgue that related to the I can't remember that address exactly.
And and on your way, did you happen to, were you, at some point in the day, were you at Mount Hope?
I was.
And near a gas station?
Correct.
And is that gas station located in the city of Lansing?
It is.
Is it in County, in Michigan?
Correct.
So what did you observe while you were there?
I observed a black Impala appeared to be getting gas at the gas station at the corner of the Morris River in Washington. And I observed some subjects outside that were acting out of the ordinary.
How many subjects did you observe?
I observed 2 subjects outside the vehicle.
Was there anybody in the vehicle?
I could not tell at that time.
And those 2 subjects that were outside of the vehicle, where are they located in approximation to the vehicle?
They were immediately next to the vehicle, but on the driver's side of the vehicle.
And what were they doing? Were they pumping gas?
Yeah, one subject appeared to be pumping gas, and the other subject appeared to be in the doorway of the Impala there. And appeared to be having a conversation with the subject that was pumping gas.
Was that the doorway of the driver's side or the doorway of the passenger side?
The doorway of the driver's side.
And you said you observed something out of the ordinary. What was out of the ordinary that you had observed?
One of the subjects appeared to be concealing his body from me.
Can you
There's,
speak up a little bit?
yeah, I'm sorry. There's 2 patrol vehicles there, myself and another officer. And the subject that was in the doorway of the passenger, of the driver's side of the vehicle, appeared to be turning his body away from me and appeared to be uncomfortable with police presence.
And do you remember what that suspect or that subject was wearing?
Yeah, I can clearly remember that there was a light washed colored jeans with rips on them all over.
And what else do you remember about what he was wearing?
There was a hoodie of some sorts, I can't remember, and there's also a ski mask on.
And so once you saw those movements, what did you do next?
So given the behavior that I was observing, I wanted to watch the subject that was in the driver's side of the vehicle there. And then the driver's side occupant there turned and faced me. I could clearly see the outline of the firearm in the pants pocket of that individual.
And was that individual the same one that had those ski mask and those wash jeans?
Correct. Yes.
And at some point, did you see them get in the vehicle?
I did not know.
Did the vehicle eventually leave the gas station?
Yes.
What happened once the vehicle left the gas station?
Another officer had relayed to me that there was a moving violation on the vehicle. And I attempted a traffic stop on the vehicle. And the vehicle then fled.
And
from the traffic stop.
when you attempted the traffic stop, did you activate your lights?
I did, yes.
Did the vehicle stop?
No.
Could you see who was driving at the time or no?
I could
And you activated your lights, you said you activated your lights and they didn't stop?
Correct.
Did you activate your siren?
I did.
Did the vehicle stop?
No,
Were you able to catch up to the vehicle?
not at that time. No.
Did you terminate pursuit?
I did, yes.
Did you eventually come back into contact with that vehicle?
I did, yes.
How did you come back into contact with that vehicle?
After terminating and deactivating my emergency equipment, I continued on the same path that I'd seen the vehicle traveling. And then I observed the vehicle be unoccupied at the intersection of Woodbine and Rundle.
And did you eventually come back into contact with the occupants of that vehicle?
I did, yes.
And how did that come about?
Given that we had discovered that the vehicle that the occupants were in is stolen, we called for a police canine to conduct a track from that vehicle.
And then did you ever learn who was driving that vehicle?
I did, yes.
How did you learn who was driving that vehicle?
Based on the pants, a combination of the canine track, and the presence of the person inside the vehicle. We observed the Mr. Houston.
Is that person in this courtroom today?
Yes,
Do you recognize them?
yes.
Can you point to them and describe something they're wearing?
It's a brown polo and a black hoodie.
Can you let the record reflect that the witness's ID, the defendant?
Any objection to identification?
Not for purposes of this hearing, that the person that he took into custody at the end was Mr. Houston.
Noted.
Did you have any further contact with Mr. Houston after you met up with them at after the crash?
Yes, after lodging, I had 2 separate interactions with him as he was in the license.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Kilborn, you stated that your vehicle was traveling eastbound on Mount Hope, is that correct?
Not at the point of,
At
some
the
point,
beginning here.
no, so I was traveling eastbound Morris River, approaching Washington.
Okay, so if you had stated in your police report that you were traveling eastbound on Mount Hope, that would be an error?
Correct.
Sir, wasn't it your testimony just 5 minutes ago that the gas station was at Mount Hope? Right near Mount Hope?
It is very near Mount Hope, but it's on the corner of Morris River and South Washington Avenue,
Okay, is that a Sunoco gas station at
Yes.
that
to
location?
the best of my knowledge.
All right, and you say that you observed 2 individuals outside that car, correct?
Correct.
And could you see the face of either of these individuals?
I could see the face of the second individual outside of that vehicle,
Did you ever see Mr. Houston's face at that gas station?
not the gas station. no.
Did you ever actually see a gun at the gas station?
I did not see a gun. I saw the outline and shape of the gun.
So you saw what you described previously as a bulge in pants? Is that fair to say?
I don't believe that's the way I wrote it, but I believe that's fair to say yes.
So to be clear, like I said, you never actually saw a gun. You are, based on what lump appears on his leg, you are assuming that was a gun?
Yeah. Based on the characteristics and the outline of the shape of his body.
Okay, and then you also testified that you didn't see this vehicle leave the gas station, is that?
That's correct.
So you didn't see who was driving the vehicle?
I did not.
When you left the gas station, you heard from Officer Adelsky, correct?
That's correct.
And you stated in your report that the vehicle turned northbound onto Washington, is that accurate?
No, that was an error.
Okay, so this is also. So what direction did the vehicle
The
turn?
vehicle turned southbound on Washington.
Do you, how far behind are you of the vehicle when you start to follow it?
I would estimate, I can't say for certain, I would say about a half a city block, and the vehicle was pulling away from me.
Okay, were your lights on at this point?
Not,
And did the vehicle make any turns?
yes.
You recall how many turns?
I believe we turned onto Smith from Washington, onto Todd from Smith, and then onto Mount Hope from Todd.
And during any of this time were your lights on?
No.
And where does the vehicle go once it's on Mount Hope?
Continues up to, I believe, it's Rundle. I could go back to that police report if we need more specifics, but I believe it's Rundle, which is at which point I attempted to chat. So
And at this point, the vehicle you said had been pulling away from you. Is that fair to say?
yes,
So this vehicle already had a substantial lead on you prior to you even turning lights on. Is that correct?
I would say about a half a block, again, maybe a block.
When you turn your lights on, you have them on for at most 5 seconds. Isn't that true?
Correct.
So in this entire chase, you had it was just a 5-second blip that you actually had lights on, and then you turned them back off.
I would say that's around approximate time. Correct.
And you came across this car, I mean, this entire stretch of Rundle, where did you find the vehicle?
I'm sorry.
Where did you catch up with this abandoned vehicle?
If I could refer back to my report, that would be great. I can't say for certain, but I believe I've located that wood line and run it.
Okay, and then would you object? Well, is it fair to say that's about 5 blocks from Mount?
Give or take, that's fair to say.
So this vehicle that you claimed was only half a block ahead of you, you turn on the lights and you lost this vehicle within a 5-block period. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And you never saw anybody get out of that vehicle, did you?
No.
And did you go with the canine group?
I did, yes.
All right, so where do you go with the canine?
I didn't document that in my report. Officer Brooks, the canine officer, documented the specifics of the track. I can say that we tracked generally in a northwestern direction.
And at some point, did you reach MLK?
We did, yes.
And what direction did the dog go once you got to MLK?
I believe we hit MLK and went south, just very briefly before we looked at the subjects.
Okay, so you were going south. Now, the dog never actually located the subjects. It was actually Officer Rogus, correct?
Correct.
So Officer Rogus had already stopped these 3 individuals moving north in MLK. Isn't that accurate?
Correct.
So you were tracking south while he found people going north.
Correct.
And did the person that you have identified as Mr. Houston, was he wearing a mask when you found him
Not my second part.
at that point? Did he have a gun on his person?
No.
How many individuals were there?
There's 3 individuals.
So now we're up to 3 individuals in this group. Your Honor, I have no additional questions for this witness.
Can you redirect?
Yeah, briefly, Your Honor, thank you. So the individual that you saw had the outline of the gun. Is that Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, officer. You may be excused.
Grab my desk, please.
You can call your next witness.
People call Fuel Officer Bill Idowski. Long walk down to that library.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
I do.
You can have a seat, sir. If you can state your first and your last name and spell both of them.
Paul Idowski, Beaudalski.
Please proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Idowski, where do you work?
Lansing Police Department,
How long have you worked there?
about 2.5 years.
What capacity do you work?
Patrol.
And on the 16th of October of 2022, were you on patrol?
Yes.
And were you dispatched for a call of shots fired?
Yes.
what did you do once you were dispatched for that call, shots fired?
So to the area and search the area in which the call was dispatched.
What area was that?
I believe the 300 block of West Vines.
And while investigating that, did you drive by a Sunoco gas station?
I did,
Where's that gas station located?
at the intersection of Moore's River Drive in South Washington.
Is that in the city of Lansing,
Yes,
Ingham County,
yes,
Michigan?
yes.
So while you were at that while you were driving by that gas station, did you observe anything?
I did.
What did you observe?
There was a black Chevy Impala parked at the gas pump. I noticed two individuals outside of it. When they noticed police presence, they appeared to become very, very nervous.
And can you describe those two individuals?
One male was, both black males, one was wearing a ski mask with blue jeans, and the other male was wearing a dark sweatshirt and dark pants.
Is there anything distinctive about those blue jeans?
I do not
And what were these two doing at the gas pump?
appear to be pumping gas.
And you said they were acting nervous. Can you describe what they were doing when you said they were acting nervous?
The individual who was wearing the ski mask, when he saw us, appeared to turn his body to not be facing the police or so that we couldn't see him. It also appeared that he was trying to conceal something that was in his pocket. The other individual who was wearing all black, while pumping gas, kept looking back, made multiple, turned around multiple times, which appeared to see him. So appeared to look as if the police were looking at him.
And the individual that was turning his body, was he making any other movements or doing anything that you recall?
It appeared as though he was trying to conceal an item which was in his pocket.
Was he touching near his pocket?
Yeah, and made several retention touches.
And so what did you do once you saw that?
I drove my vehicle eastbound across South Washington to which I believe was Baker, turned around so I could reposition to get a better look at the gas pumps.
And did you see anybody get into the car?
I saw the subject who was wearing all black, who did not have the ski mask. I saw him get into the passenger side of the vehicle.
And you didn't see who got into the driver? Did you see who got into the driver's side?
I did not.
So once they got into the vehicle, what happened?
They then left the parking lot from the south entrance onto South Washington. They did not use a blinker while turning southbound onto South Washington, and also did not come to a stop while leaving the private drive.
Was there another officer on this call with you?
Yes,
And who was that?
Officer Kilborn.
Did you relay any information to him?
I did. I relayed the traffic violation.
Did you attempt to stop the car?
No, Officer Kilborn did.
Did you later come back into contact with the vehicle?
Yes,
Where was that at?
in the area of Woodbine, and I do not recall the other street.
Was anybody in the vehicle when you came back into contact with
it was
them?
empty.
So what did you do after that?
Myself and Officer Kilborn cleared the vehicle, made sure it was safe, and then called for a canine.
Did you find any gun near the vehicle, in the vehicle?
Not in the vehicle.
And did you happen to find the suspects during that canine track?
We did.
Where did you find them?
Farther north on South Cape.
And so was it the same people that you saw at the gas station once you found them?
Yes.
And did any individual have a ski mask on once you
No.
encountered them? Did you come to know the identity of the individuals?
After they were placed in custody, officers were able to identify them. I was not one of the officers who identified the subjects.
So after you found them, did you do anything else after you found the suspects?
Yes, myself and Officer Brooks did a backtrack or an article search with his canine, where we located a gun
in the backyard of a house. I believe it was the 1800 block of Woodbine.
And did you locate anything else?
There was a black backpack in that backyard as well.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show the witness what's been marked as people's pros 1, 2, 3, and 4. Did you take pictures of the area that you found the gun in the backpack?
I did.
Take a look, please, and just look up once you've seen them all. Are those the pictures that you took of the gun in the area, in the backpack in the area that was located in?
They are.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the picture you took, or
Yes.
of the gun in the backpack?
Yes.
You know, people at this time, people move to admit people's proposed 1, 2, 3, and 4.
No objection from that, thanks, Your Honor.
Goes 1, 2, 3, and 4 admitted without objection.
People would also move to publish, Your Honor.
He's represented.
So where did you find the gun?
The gun was up close to the house next to a rain gutter. You can see it in one of the photos. There's like a maroon colored gutter down in the corner of the backyard. It was in taller grass. I believe that would have been on the west side of the yard.
And did you search the backpack that you found?
I did.
What did you find in there?
There was a pair of black Nike shoes, some sort of work jacket, like neon work jacket or vest, and maybe some other clothing that, but I don't recall specifics. I just remember the shoes and the
And-
jacket.
Do you know who those shoes belong to?
Mr. Houston,
How do you know that?
he told Officer Kilborn while at the jail that the backpack and the shoes belonged to him.
Objection, Your Honor. That is hearsay. Stating another officer posting.
I would withdraw the question, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
And is Mr. Houston in the room today?
Yes.
Can you point him out and describe something he's wearing?
A tan hoodie or a tan polo and a black hoodie.
Let the record reflect that the witness's ID.
Any objections? ID.
No, Your Honor.
Identification is noted.
And so after you found the gun in the backpack, did you have any more contact with Mr. Houston? No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross exam.
Officer, so you said that you were on Moores River Drive when you first see these people at the gas station, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And how much, you said, you saw only 2 people at that vehicle, correct?
2 people outside, and it appeared that there was one other person inside the vehicle.
Okay, so now you think that there was a third person?
Yes.
Why did you need to drive around to get a better look?
Based on where I was sitting, I was looking from the side of my car, so I wanted to reposition so I could look straight forward and at the vehicle.
Right. And while you were looking straight at the vehicle, could you see the face of any of those individuals?
No,
Would you okay, so you didn't see any of their faces?
actually, I saw the individual who got in on the passenger side.
Okay, is the face that you saw at that gas station in this courtroom right now?
No,
And you described the person that you and you also stated that there was some kind of lump or something in a guy's pocket. Is that correct?
I did not.
So you didn't see anything?
I did not see any physical objects. I could see that it appeared as though he was trying to conceal something, but I couldn't see what that object was.
Okay. That's fair. Now, when this car leaves the gas station, what way do they head?
Southbound on Washington.
Do you follow?
Yes.
For how long do you follow the car?
I'm not sure on the exact amount, on the exact distance or time. However, I was not directly behind them. Officer Kilborn was the vehicle that got directly behind them. But I did pull out after them. They left at a high rate of speed.
Did you ever turn on your signals to pull over?
I did not, I pulled in to try, at this point, the vehicle had fled from Officer Kilborn, so I turned on my emergency lights and sirens to try to
Well,
catch
sir,
it.
did Officer Kilburn turn on his lights and sirens anywhere near that gas station?
After getting behind the vehicle,
So,
to my knowledge.
well, to your knowledge, you were right behind him.
Right,
You would
yes.
have pretty good knowledge, wouldn't you, here?
Yes,
And it's your testimony that Officer Kilburn did turn on his signal, where like on Smith Road or something, right?
I don't know the exact road.
All right. So if Officer Kilborn had testified that he didn't turn any signals on until they had already turned off of Mount Hope, would he be mistaken?
I am unaware. We took different routes after he tried to initiate the traffic stop.
Okay. When you come into contact with the vehicle, do you see anybody around that vehicle?
No.
Did you see, were there any firearms found in that car?
No.
Where do you go after you get to that car?
I make sure there's no other people inside the car.
Okay, and did you pursue these individuals in any fashion?
Not until, I did not pursue on foot until the canine tracking had started.
So did you go with the K-9?
Yes,
And at some point, did you come up to MLK?
yes,
And did you turn south onto MLK?
yes,
And now the dog never actually got to these individuals, did he? These are individuals who were already stopped by Officer Rogas, correct?
correct.
So, and Officer Rogas stopped individuals that were moving north at this time, correct?
I don't recall.
Uh,
I don't know at what point Officer Rogas made contact with him, but he did have contact with him on MLK when I saw that.
And at this point, there's clearly 3 individuals that are stopped.
Yes,
And they are wearing jeans and hooded sweatshirts. Is that fair to say?
at least one,
No. How long have you been an officer, sir?
about 2.5 years.
How common is it for you to see young men wearing jeans and hooded sweatshirts?
Fairly,
Is that essentially almost an everyday thing in the fall?
yes,
So they were not wearing anything that was distinct or unique in any way. He wasn't wearing anything bright colored or anything along those lines, correct?
Correct.
And this gun, did this gun have any fingerprints on it or anything that you were able to tie it to an individual?
not at the, I did not test the gun for fingerprints at the scene.
And did you see anyone with a backpack at that gas station at the beginning of this?
No.
So you personally have no evidence that this backpack and gun have anything to do with the people in the car, do you? Sir?
Can you ask the question?
Okay,
again? I'm sorry.
I will. I apologize. Without getting into what other officers may have told you, do you have any personal knowledge that backpack and or gun have any connection with the people who were at the gas station?
No, not any personal knowledge.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Can you redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. So the gun and the backpack that was found, was it found on the route of the canine track that you took to find the suspects?
Yes,
And the individual that was concealing something, was that individual the same individual, one of the individuals that was stopped by Officer Rogas?
yes,
It was the one and was that person wearing a mask at the time you saw them with Officer Rogas?
no,
And was that individual Mr. Houston?
I believe so.
What type of gun was found?
It was a Glock handgun.
And how do you know it was a Glock?
I identified it at the scene as a Glock. At LPD, we carry Glocks, so I'm very familiar with the firearm.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
That's not a question. Just to clarify, did you ever see an individual with a ski mask on?
At the gas station.
Oh, at the gas station. And what, was that the individual wearing all black or was that the one with the jeans?
Jeans.
Okay, and that was the same individual that appeared to be trying to conceal something?
Yes.
Okay. And this occurred at what time of year?
I about a month ago, so beginning of fall.
In October of this year?
Yes. I don't think it was in October.
Okay.
And I would have to double check on when the actual traffic stop.
Well, this is November.
I believe I asked if he was dispatched on October 26,
Yes.
2022, in the
Yes.
beginning, Your Honor.
I apologize.
No worries. Okay.
So that was October 16th.
October 16th, not
Yeah.
26th?
Yeah, October 16th, 2022.
Okay. Any cross or redirect based on my questions?
Another from people, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, and officer, there is a sequestration order, so you're not to discuss or disclose any portions of your testimony with any of the other witnesses, okay? Thank you. You can be excused.
Thank you. Take them without, please. Yeah, thank you.
Call your next witness.
People call Detective Martha McGonigal.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
I do.
You can have a seat. And Detective, if you can state your first and last name and spell both.
Martha McGonigal, MarthaMcGonigal.
So you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, where do you work?
Lansing Police Department,
How long have you worked there?
20 years.
And in what capacity do you work there?
I'm assigned to the Violent Crime Detective Bureau currently.
And were you assigned in that capacity back in October,
Yes, I do.
on October 16th?
Yes,
And were you assigned to a non-fatal shooting back on October 15th?
yes, I was.
And as part of that investigation, did you come into contact with a phone?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what kind of phone that was?
There were actually 3 phones in total as a result of that particular investigation.
Did you come into contact with a Samsung phone?
I did.
And do you know where that Samsung phone came from?
Objection, Your Honor. What is the question, the relevance of coming into contact with phones on an investigation regarding a shooting on the 15th?
You want to respond to the objection?
Your Honor, I was laying the foundation for how she came across the phone involved in this incident, and how she came across the evidence that was on that phone, Your Honor.
Evidence that relates to this? case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, the objection's overruled.
Did you obtain a warrant for a Samsung phone?
Yes, I did.
Do you know where the Samsung phone came from?
It came from a vehicle that was determined to be stolen, that was stopped by the Lansing Police Department on the 16th of October.
And do you know who stopped that vehicle?
I don't know who actually initiated the traffic stop.
Do you know any of the officers involved in that stop?
It was Officer Idowski and Phil Ward.
And so was a phone dump performed on this phone?
Yes, it was.
And what was found on the phone?
The phone had a lot of information on it pertaining to this investigation. It was the person that is identified as the phone owner was a Jay Houston.
There's a person that is identified as mom through contacts that repeatedly refers to the person sending messages to as Jalen, as well as multiple social media accounts.
Did you find any pictures on this phone of guns?
Yes, I did.
Were those, or any videos related to a gun?
There were 2 videos in particular that I took note of.
And were those videos timestamped?
Yes, they were.
You remember the timestamp on those videos?
I know that one was approximately 1 PM. I don't recall the minutes, and then the second video was 3 PM. Again, I don't recall the minutes.
Do you recall the dates on those?
They were both on the 16th of October.
Can you describe what you saw in that video?
So one video showed the male driving. He had on a very distinct black sweatshirt. He was holding 2 guns. And the other male in the front passenger seat was holding an additional gun. Beyond that, I couldn't tell that they were anything beyond black handguns.
Did you see the faces on the individuals?
I could tell that the passenger had a mustache, but no, I wasn't able to see the faces.
Were you able to see the pants on either of the individuals?
I don't recall. Not in the videos. In the photograph, I could.
Moving right, thank you. I was moving right into that. So what do you see? What did you see in the photos?
In the photograph, there are 3 very distinct guns with actual serial numbers that are very visible.
And was one of those a Glock?
Yes, it was.
And was that Glock found anywhere?
Yes, it was.
Where is it found?
I don't recall the specific location, but it was found during the K-9 search from the stolen vehicle prior to or after the 3 occupants.
Objection. I don't believe this witness has any personal knowledge of where that gun is
You have-
located.
you have personal knowledge of that?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay, objection sustained.
Did the owner of the phone ever come to retrieve it?
Yes, he did.
And who is the owner of the phone?
Jalen Houston.
Is that person in this courtroom today?
I've not met him previously.
And during those photos, though you said you could see the guns in the lap, what kind of pants were the gun? What kind of pants was the person wearing?
They were light colored jeans.
Could you tell if they were ripped?
It looked like they were ripped just because you could see fibers of the material.
Is the person that was holding the gun in the video, did you see a face on them?
One of them, yes. One of them, no. The driver's face was not visible. He had on a ski mask.
No further questions this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
Detective, is your testimony that you were able to see the face of the passenger, but not the face of the driver of that vehicle?
Correct.
Did you ever see anyone in that vehicle that looked like Mr. Houston?
In the respect of there were.
Their face, I'm saying.
I did not see his face.
All right, so you just testified that this is the first time that you've ever seen Mr. Houston's face, essentially.
Face to face, yes. I've seen photographs of him many times before.
Okay. Now, did you ever show up on the at the scene on October 16th with the abandoned vehicle or the location of the gun?
I did not.
So you were handed those items by a different officer?
My only involvement is after the gun was recovered and I retrieved the phone dump of Mr. Houston's phone. I then checked the serial number of the gun that's in the photograph with the gun that was recovered on the scene, and it is one and the same.
Was that gun registered or anything like that to Mr. Houston?
It was not registered to Mr. Houston.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You get right.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Detective. There's a sequestration order, so you can't discuss any portions of your testimony with any of the other witnesses.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Can you call your next witness?
The People Restaurant.
Since we call any witnesses today,
No, we will not, Your Honor.
okay, you can make your argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we've heard testimony from 2 officers who saw the defendant at the gas station they distinctly saw his pants and what he was wearing. They saw him making retention touches to his side and trying to conceal something from officers when they first observed him, when they noticed the police presence. The vehicle then left the gas station, and officers attempted to pursue it. Lights were activated, sirens were activated, and he fled from them. He fled from them and did not stop for them. They later came across the vehicle crashed with nobody there. They initiated a canine track. On this canine track, they didn't find it, but Officer Rogas had come into contact with the individuals, and the individual that was making those retention touches was the same individual that they identified as Mr. Houston. It was the same individual by the color of his pants and what he was wearing. During the course of the canine track back, they found a gun and a backpack on the ground. The gun was hidden. The gun was tossed in some bushes. We've heard from Detective McGonigal, who had reviewed the phone dump and did the phone dump on the phone. And there were pictures of the same person in a ski mask in those light colored pants, holding a gun, the same gun that was identified by serial number from the gun that was found in the bushes. Your Honor, at this time, I would ask the court bind over on all counts of the complaint, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor, when the testimony from both of the officers in this matter was that neither of them saw the face of the person who was outside that car. One of them identified that there were 2 people at that gas station. The other identified that there were 3 people at that gas station. Nobody could state that they saw Mr. Houston at that gas station. The only evidence that they go on in this case is that there was a young man at a gas station who had jeans and a black hooded sweatshirt on and a mask. That the fact that the mask, you can't see the person's face. Beyond that, that clothing is so consistent with what people of that age wear in the city. If you drive anywhere in the sun, you're going to see somebody in a black hooded sweatshirt. And I believe in this situation, all 3 of the individuals who were stopped had black hooded sweatshirts on. There is nothing that identifies him as a person who was at that gas station. Then when we see the car pulls out, as Officer Kilborn testified, he did not turn on his signals while they were following this car for a several block drive through the neighborhood. It was only until they got to the final street that he clicked his sirens on for 5 seconds. And I don't think there's any evidence that the people in that car even necessarily knew that they were trying to be pulled over. He lost sight of that car. Individuals fled that car. Mr. Houston, in this matter, was found walking north on MLK by Officer Rogas. The officers both testified that the dog track claimed that these individuals were going south on MLK. And they want us to believe that, well, how else could there be these 3 individuals in this part of the city? They were found, by my estimate, about 8 blocks from where this car was abandoned.
So the testimony was 5 blocks. Is that what I said?
I don't remember specifically what the officer said. I was just going
It's
off my
yeah.
map.
Well,
You're right.
your map's not in evidence.
What they testified to was in evidence. But either way, it was several blocks from where this car was abandoned. The gun in this matter, they have a photo of a gun with a person, again, with no face. There is nothing tying this gun to Mr. Houston. So, Your Honor, based on all of the circumstances we've heard in this case, I don't think we have probable cause of either offense, that Mr. Houston committed either of these offenses due to identification and the fact that there's no evidence he was driving a vehicle that came into contact with the police and fled. So we would ask you to deny bind over on both of these charges, Your Honor.
Re-argument.
Very briefly, Your Honor, I just want to touch on the ID that, again, and reiterate that the phone belonged to Mr. Houston, and on that phone was a video of the same person in those light colored jeans or in a ski mask, and as well as light colored jeans of the gun in the lap. And the gun, the pictures of the gun in that video with those those ripped light colored jeans matched the gun that was found, Your Honor. And I want to go back, stay on the ID track, Your Honor. When they come across this individual, it was the same. They identified that it was the same individual that they saw at the gas station when they came across him again with Officer Rogas, based on the description of the pants as well as the jacket, Your Honor. And I would ask the court, respectfully ask the court to find both, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Today was the date and time set for preliminary examination. The burden at the time of preliminary examination is squarely upon the prosecution. They need to produce sufficient evidence that there's probable cause, sufficient that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you as a defendant with the crime. This is not to be compared with the burden that the prosecution would have to make if this matter were to go to trial. At trial, they have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. But for today's purposes, they only need to establish that there's more than mere evidence that a crime was committed. And without rehashing the facts yet again, we did hear testimony from 3 officers, and the first officer being Officer Kilborn, who indicated that he was responding to a shots fired complaint in the area of Moores River and or Washington Street, and that he observed a black Impala that took place on October 16, 2022, the area of Moores River in Washington, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. And he testified that there's a gas station located there and that he observed a black Impala with a subject presence there, or 2 subjects. One was described as wearing a black hoodie, the other having some distinctive colored jeans with rips in them. One individual was wearing a ski mask, and that individual appeared to be making retention touches or trying to conceal something. Officers testified that the individuals appeared to be uncomfortable with the presence of law enforcement. Officer Kilborn testified in trying to effectuate a traffic stop, but that the subject had fled. He did testify that his lights and siren had been activated, but that after the subjects fled, that he terminated the pursuit. He testified that there was a discovery of the vehicle later, that it was determined to have been stolen, and that through the use of K9 and other search, they were able to locate the subject. We had Officer Idowski testify as well. He indicated responding to the same incident. He's also was able to identify the individual named or listed as the defendant in this matter, Mr. Jalen Houston. He also indicated that he observed the subjects at the Sunoco gas station, also again located in the Moore River in Washington intersection. And he also testified to observing what appeared to be a firearm, and that there appeared to be in the pocket of one of the individuals, and that the individuals appeared to be trying to conceal and make some retention. The person wearing the mask was making retention touches to what they believed to be a firearm. He testified that the gun was located in the back of the house at the area of 1800 block of Woodbine, and that there was also a black bag located there. Detective McGonigal testified to doing or being responsible for getting the warrant and doing the dump of the data on the phone that was located in the stolen vehicle, that phone being identified as a Samsung type phone. She testified that there were photos and videos of a gun. She said that there was 3 distinct guns and that their serial numbers visible, that there was communications in the phone identifying and tying the phone to Jalen Houston. She also said that the owner of the phone, being Jalen Houston, did come and retrieve the phone. There was at least one video and or pictures that showed the individual wearing a distinct colored black hoodie and a ski mask, holding the firearm, and another individual holding a gun. The court has before them a felony complaint, count 1 being weapons carrying concealed, alleging that the defendant did carry a dangerous weapon, that be a pistol, concealed or otherwise, on or about his or her person. or otherwise in the vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, that being a Chevy Impala. Based on the testimony today of the officers and detective, the court is satisfied that there's sufficient evidence as to count one. And so based on the probable causes, that count one will be bound over to the circuit court. Count two is police officer pleading alluding third degree, alleging that being the driver of the motor vehicle to whom was given a visual or audible signal by hand, voice, emergency light or siren of Officer Kilborn, a police officer who was in uniform in the officer's vehicle, being identified as a police officer vehicle, acting in the lawful performance of his or her duty, directing the defendant to bring his or her motor vehicle to stop, did willfully fail to obey that direction. Officer Kilborn, I'm sorry. Yes, it was Officer Kilborn did testify that he attempted to make a traffic stop and that his lights and his siren on his fully marked police vehicle were activated, and that the driver that he identified as being the defendant failed to stop. And at a certain point, the pursuit was terminated. The court is satisfied that there's sufficient probable cause as to count two that will be bound over to the circuit court. Your bind over date's going to be November 23rd. You do not need to appear in circuit court on November 23rd. They'll get the file from this court on that date. Your next court date will be in circuit court. It'll be a pre-trial, and you and Mr. Goodrich will be made aware of that date. Do you have any questions at this time, sir? Bond was set at 5,000 personal recognizance. There is a curfew between 10 p.m. and 7 unless working or going to school. Is your mom back here? Is he still complying with his curfew? Is giving you any problems? Okay, well, Bond will continue. Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing on the table. Thank you, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're all set. Good luck, sir.
We'll get you.
Have a good weekend, Your Honor.
Same to you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Here's your
Oh,
exhibits.
thank you, Your Honor.
No problem.
Almost forgot those. Gotta get out of the sauna. I'm trying to get out of the sauna as quick as I could.
I don't know why. Well, it's gonna be 70-some degrees. That's why it keeps up in here quickly for some reason. I'm gonna get out of this full room.